Well, hello. Hey, it's BG, and welcome back to BG Model Workshop. We are doing a little bit of a tutorial on wood decking. USAC build just finished that a little while ago, and turns out we had a second kit in the stash. This is a kit that I should have been building, not the one that we actually built. Long story. But we're very excited to be helping out some guys. They had some questions about how we do our coloring for the wood on these particular models. This is going to be a combination of two different techniques that one we learned from Andy at Andy's Hobby Headquarters, and another one is a technique that I learned from a friend of mine, Harold, that was in one of the model car clubs that I used to be part of back in the day. But Harold chose to use X26 as his top coat. That was what gave it a nice looking super rich honey color type of thing. I sometimes find myself gravitating towards X24. This is transparent yellow. It can give it a little bit of a lemony tint. But I want like a pine board look. I'm not looking for a mahogany or a oak or anything like that. I want more of a pine look here. So I'm going to go with my X24. Now, you're perfectly welcome to experiment with X26, X27, which is transparent red, or even, let's see if I have that handy here, X19, which is their smoke color. That might be interesting. I'm going to have to experiment with those a little bit later on, maybe even some sort of cocktail mixture of the two. But for now, we're just going to be sticking with those. I do have a giant vat of X27, and for some reason that stuff looks like blood. When I spilled a little bit on my hand a few weeks ago, and I almost passed out. I thought I cut myself, and I must have severed a nerve. I never felt anything. Anyway, digressing. So, what are we going to use in order to put on the actual wood tone? That's going to be done with. Now, I can use either one of these guys. If I want a little bit of a darker look, I can go with this one here, dark brown. Sorry, that's spilled on there, but that says dark brown. Or the brown color. Now, the way I saw Andy doing this was he was using a very light tan color, not unlike what we have here. This is actually Rattlecan. This is TS46 light sand. It has a semi-gloss look to it, which is going to actually be helpful because if you have a flat color or flat texture to this, it's going to grab up the panel liner and not let it go. So you want to have a nice semi-gloss sheen to it. So this is perfect. It's also Rattlecan and can be applied right quick. So the plan is to actually add some of this brown color here. Now I like to use this for weathering because it looks good as a dirt color, I guess is the best way to do it, like a grimy dirt color. This dark brown here is even better for that. So this would be like the older grease, like when you have dirt that's mixed with grease. And then this would be more of like something like dirt mixed with rust, something like that. So that's how I usually use it. Now, in this application though, we're just going to be dribbling this on here, letting it set for just a few minutes. And I have this little chunk of sponge here. This is an open cell piece of sponge, and I'm not sure what this came in. I found this just sort of like on the floor one day, so I was like, oh, okay, cool. And you can see I've used it on one side already. And the technique that I've been working with is put some of that panel liner on a couple of boards, because this is only going to cover a couple boards, and then you don't even press on it. You just set it down there and lightly drag it off. And the key is to not get to the end and stop, because wherever you lift this up at will leave a puddle. So the key will be to drag this all the way down and right off the back. Yeah, you're going to get some panel liner schmutz on the actual frame around the bed. We can clean that up later, not a problem. The one thing that cleans up panel liner is more panel liner. So there you go. So the plan for this particular truck bed here is we'll probably use this guy, the brown, and then we'll see if that's dark enough. Maybe we'll go back and add a little bit of dark brown here and there to give it a little bit more of a darker tone, and then top coat everything with the X24 to give it that nice glowing look there that we got on the last one that we did. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to let this cure up just a little bit longer because we just sprayed this about a half an hour ago. We'll let that cure up a little bit longer, and then we'll go ahead and start doing the panel line wash here in just a moment. All right, so now we've got this all shook up. Ho, ho, ho. Let's see here. So we're going to go ahead and open this guy. Now, these, if you're not familiar with these panel liners, they do have a tiny little micro brush that is added here. We see that? That's great for when you want to do a spot like boop, like right there, you know, boop, right there, no problem. But when you want to do a large area like this, that's a bit small. So that's another reason why we're just doing a couple of boards here and there, okay? Another thing about these little panel liners, I just want to take a second to mention this, that you see that plastic tube there that's catching the light so nicely, that actually holds a lot of fluid in it. So when you're doing your panel lining and you're doing your little boops here and there like that, that's what that sounds like, boop, boop, like that, and you want to do a nice smiley face, there we go. If you touch that tube, look at all that stuff that comes flooding out. That's going to get, so if you're trying to like hit the top of a carburetor and you accidentally bump that tube on the valve cover, well, guess what's going to look like all over that valve cover? That's right, you're going to just dump that stuff all over everything. So we're going to reapply and get some more. And this stuff is an enamel base. It does not smell good at all. But I'm taking a hit for you guys. I don't have my fan on right now because I just... I think the fan actually would mess up the microphone on the camera phone here. So we're just going to be brushing this here on. Get a little bit more here on. Here we go. Isn't it a lake? Back and forth, back and forth. So just doing these two boards like that. Trying to get it into the crooks and grannies. There we go. Let's seal that up so I don't have to smell it anymore. And clean side of the sponge. Just set it down on there and then walk them down right off the edge there. That's it. That's it. That's the whole process. And do it for the rest of the bed there, and that's going to be it. Okay, so I'll do one more pass. Oh, and I have BBs in here. I don't recommend it. It doesn't seem to be helping out my world at all with shaking these up. I did have a situation a couple years ago where I had a BB in one of those things and it broke through the side, took off to parts unknown in the hobby room with the chunk of glass, and when I rearranged my hobby room, I never found it. I don't know where it went. It went to where all those parts and the odd sock goes when you can't find it in the dryer. So, oh, see there? I touched my brush there. Clean up on aisle 2. I wasn't even on aisle 2, Stan. All right, that's a Mr. Mom movie reference if you guys don't recognize that. I don't think the guy's name was Stan either. It's probably Kyle or someone. All right, so there we go. Kind of blend this a little bit. I'm not being too precious with this. Precious. There we go. I'm still going to use that same side of the sponge because it's still fairly clean. So we're just going to set it on there. No pressure at all. Dragging them down. I can feel it dragging a little bit, so I can tell it's getting a little bit gummy. Taking a little too long talking. There you go. Tickety-boo, Bob's your uncle. Look at that. That's actually looking right good right there. I don't think I'm going to add that darker panel liner on there. I'm just going to stick with this stuff. And then swab. I'm going to be a little bit faster with this one so it doesn't get so gummy. There we go. I got a little bit over on the other side. That'll be right. Happy little accents. I think we need a little tree right about here. Sorry, not a tree. It's a board. Haha. There you go, Bob. Just like that. Tickety-boo, Bob Ross is your uncle. Splatter some right in there. Give it a drag. Now, we all know that wood is not actually, it's very random. There's no real patterning to it unless you want something that's book matched or butterflied or whichever term you choose to get opposites or the same type of cut. That's a veneering type of thing, I guess. But yeah, boards have a lot of differences in them and stuff. So you know, getting a little bit of variation in that, not a problem. Looks better still. I don't like this one. I don't like you right here. So we're just going to, there we go. Hey, that looks better. Cool. So we'll let this dry up, and this is an enamel, so this will take a little while, probably at least 45 minutes to an hour before I come back here and top coat it with our X24, and we'll actually airbrush that on there because it can go so quick, just and we're done. Okay, cool. So we'll come back and do that when this is fully cured up. Sweet. So this has been curing for a couple of hours now. We went out and did some errands, got some lunch, the typical middle of the day type of stuff. So I'm liking how it looks. I can live with that. Definitely feel good about how that looks. We'll set that aside, and we're going to get our paint here, the clear yellow X24. That's sealed on there pretty good. There we go. And then I'm not going to use much. I used to be one of those guys that would mix color in the cup of the airbrush, and I was always being cautioned not to do that. And finally, I got tired of having to stop what I was doing and mix more paint because I was running out all the time. And then I was like, yep, okay, I'm going to stop mixing paint in the cup of the airbrush because the consistencies aren't the same. It's hard to do the control, the quality, and all that jazz. So started using these little mixing cups here, or medicine cups. We're making this super thin. You saw how much fluid we put in there. Give this a test shot, or test run, literally. Yeah. See that running down there? That looks good. That right above. All right, that looks good. I think we're gonna work. I got a little bit of alcohol in the airbrush. Spraying pretty good. I like to run a little bit of thinner or airbrush or alcohol through the airbrush before I run my paint through. That way I'm not surprised if something happens and it doesn't want to flow correctly and I'm not stuck with a bunch of paint. So that's very watery. So we're going to want to go very lightly then, okay? I want to protect the rest of that by holding that like this. And there we go, a nice light path. So here we go. Starting to see the color change to my eye. Walk it back up. Getting a little heavy on the yellow, but I think, let's set this aside. I think we're good. Yeah, man. I think that's all we needed to do. A little bit heavy here and there, but again, variation is the key when it comes to doing wood paneling, wood planking. I like to tip it so that the light hits it, so I can see if my the coverage is even. You know, the sheen will let you know if you have a thin spot or a dull spot. Oops, just knocked that on the floor. Yeah, so that looks good. Right. That's going to be it. That's the whole process. That's it. You can hit it with a gloss coat if you want to. You don't have to. It's going to stay this going to have this sheen forever until you buff it or something like that. The only thing I would do now is go back and let this dry up a lot, and then go back and then just do. I like to use this guy here. This is a Sharpie product, and it is an oil-based marker. So it's got a ball bearing in there. You can hear it. You have to shake it up real good. And then you have to depress it and to get the just like the Molto pen to get it going. And then this has like a 1mm tip on there. And this guy happens to be, it's well used and well loved, you can see. But this guy happens to fit into those channels perfectly for this particular model. Probably not going to fit every single model that's out there that has wood beds in them, because everything's going to be a little bit different from one to the next. But since we've already done this kit before, we know from experience that this guy is going to fit perfectly. I do like this as opposed to Molto because it's not as shiny. It's a little more of a used look. I like that very much. So there we go. That's that. I hope this answered some questions for y'all. And if you do have any questions or comments, please post them down below. We will be out of town coming up here pretty soon, so I will do my very best to stay up on the comments and answer any questions that you do have. But hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it answered some questions and something you can use to build your own skill set on top of. Like I was saying before, you could use that X26, or you could probably even try this guy here. Oops, just spill that. There we go. This X19 smoke, just mixing, doing your own. I just did this straight out of the jar. So you could do your own mixing and matching when it comes to color variations, see what kind of tones you can want to get. But I just wanted to do a nice basic tutorial on how to do that. So there you go. Y'all take it easy. We'll talk to you in the next one. As soon as we get back into town, we're going to try and film some of the NNL West show. But we're going to be hanging out with a lot of friends and seeing some family and stuff while we're out there. So it might be a little bit of time before we get any videos up on that. But in the meantime, y'all take it easy. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you again in the next one. Bye now. Yeah, that looks like paneling, all right. Nice.